Craving your next action-packed adventure? Audible delivers thrills of every kind on your command, like Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, where a lone astronaut must save humanity from extinction, narrated with stunning intensity by Ray Porter. From electrifying suspense and daring quest to spine-tingling horror and romance in far-off realms, unleash your adventurous side with gripping titles that'll keep you guessing. Discover exclusive Audible originals, hotly anticipated new releases, and must-listen bestsellers that hook you from the first minute. Because Audible knows there's no greater thrill than the one that speaks to you. Discover what lies beyond the edge of your seat. Start your free 30-day trial at audible.com/WonderyUS. That's audible.com/WonderyUS.
Once I hit like 13, I started getting kind of angry. Angry at angry at whoever took her from us, just angry at the whole situation. And that just kept going until I was probably like 21. And at that point, I was able to put myself in her shoes. Not necessarily doing the things that she was doing, but seeing that at 21, I had no freaking clue what I was doing it. And you had 2 kids at 20. Like I lived longer than she had, and that really messed with me. Later on, I did. I spent quite a few more years, like, still questioning if I should be angry with her or not. And mainly because that's what I was fed when I was growing up. That she was this bad person, that she left us, that she chose drugs over us. When there was so much more to her story that I wished I was told. Because there was more to it. She was more than just somebody who got addicted to drugs. And all of the events that happened afterwards. And I didn't get to know any of that.
That's Samm Holt, the daughter of Dawn Michelle Holt, a 20-year-old who went missing in Waldorf, Maryland in 1996.
Yeah. And then when I got back to Maryland, because down here in Florida, it's kind of hard for me to do anything. And then I went back to Maryland. I got with my mom and I located, this was an accident. I was at the courthouse one day and I heard this guy talking. I heard his name and I remembered him from like the first newspaper article that he had wrote about Dawn. And I was like, I knew you. And we talked. And then he met with me and my mom. And he wrote another article that I was there when he wasn't supposed to mention my name, but he did. At that point, I didn't care. And it just kind of got me to want to dig deeper. And I kept going.
That's Sherri Shelton, Dawn's sister. This is the Silver Linings Handbook podcast. I'm Jason Blair. A little more than 26 years ago, 20-year-old Dawn Michelle Holt moved to Florida at the suggestion of her mother to get away from some acquaintances who were involved in using and distributing drugs. But just weeks later, Dawn's estranged husband received a telephone call from her. Dawn said she was staying at a nearby Econo Lodge hotel in the southern Maryland town of Waldorf. She told him, he said, that she was on her way to see him and their 2 young children. That was April 25th, 1996. That was the last time anyone ever heard from Dawn. From time to time, Dawn had disappeared before, but after 8 weeks with no sign of her in Florida or Maryland, she was reported missing to the police. Police in Maryland began to piece together that Dawn had indeed been at the motel. They began to suspect that Dawn had come back to Maryland both to see her children and to meet with some of her acquaintances involved in drugs. It was almost as if that after that phone call, this 5'4" tall woman who weighed 110 pounds, had strawberry blonde hair, hazel eyes, and was the mother of a 3-year-old daughter and 2-year-old son, vanished. At the motel, she was last seen wearing a large red winter jacket and white sneakers. When her husband arrived, he said she was gone, and it appeared as if the door had been kicked in. Dawn grew up in St. Mary's County, Maryland, the southernmost part of Maryland's western shore on the Chesapeake Bay. It's a place that's known for its history and unique culture of Chesapeake Bay tidewater farming, fishing, and crabbing. It's the home to the Patuxent River Naval Air Station, a growing college, an increasing number of long-distance commuters who work in the Washington, D.C. area. When Dawn was 12 years old, in 1989, her father was beaten to death by 5 police officers in Howard County, Maryland. He had been wanted on a probation violation in another county, and when the police arrived at his apartment, they confronted him as he was placing items in a white van outside. The officers said he had attempted to punch one of them before backup arrived and subdued him and arrested him. He was said to have gone into cardiac arrest a few minutes later. He was rushed to the hospital before he died. The police say they found a gun nearby and drugs in his apartment. The fatal arrest created a deep mistrust in law enforcement for the family and became the advent of emotional problems, including lashing out at others for Dawn. Dawn was placed in a group home where she struggled. At some point after getting married, Dawn's life began to noticeably unravel. People who knew her said that she turned to drugs and was increasingly seen with armed men. Her family found themselves increasingly distanced from her. In a matter of a year, Dawn was arrested several times, and according to a 2004 article in the Maryland Independent, the police offered her protection, and some say she began to work as a confidential informant. In March 1996, Dawn was walking with a man when a gunman approached them and ordered them to the ground. The man Dawn was with fought back and was shot. Neither Dawn nor the man she was with immediately told the police the identities of the shooters. But after the home they were staying in was raided by the police, Dawn was said to have named the shooter. It was around that time that Dawn's mother suggested she go to Florida. Upon her return, Dawn was reportedly seen at the motel and by a witness at a party that supposedly went terribly wrong. For more than 2 decades, Dawn's sister, Sherri Shelton, and Dawn's daughter, Samm Holt, have been searching for answers as to what happened to their sister that night. And along the way, they've experienced many of the struggles of families who find themselves involved in the ambiguous grief of having a loved one who becomes missing and the difficulties working with law enforcement to get answers. Today, we're going to discuss Dawn's case, how you grieve when you don't know what happened to your loved one or get a chance to say goodbye. We're going to talk about what victims need from law enforcement, the public, and the media, and some of the challenges that families face. We're also going to talk about things we can do to manage our losses, a skill that's universal to all of us. Hey, Sherri and Samantha, I just wanted to thank you for joining. I really appreciate every time I have the opportunity to talk to somebody in a family who has had someone in their lives go missing. I really appreciate it because I know that it's difficult to talk about many of these things and to go to many of these places. But I really do believe that people, whether there are other family members who are going through similar things, or even in terms of educating law enforcement or just regular people who may be able to help out in situations, I feel like they all benefit from it. And I feel like one of the things, loss is universal, and it's hard to imagine something like your sister going missing. But I think when we hear these stories, it gives us all an opportunity to sort of learn and grow and figure things out. So I just wanted to start off by saying how much I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, very well said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, hopefully you feel that I at least relate to the relate to the
I
experience.
very much appreciate that.
You already got me crying, so good job.
Well, I wanted to start off, and this may not lead you away from crying, but I wanted to start off because a lot of times I think when we talk about situations where someone goes missing, we start with the day that they went missing. But I feel like it's really important to step back and think about the person as they lived, because that's what we've lost. And I was just curious about what life was like before Dawn went missing, like what growing up together was like, what it was like before, the knock on the door came or the telephone call came telling you she was missing.
I was in Florida, and my mom had called me, and she said Dawn's in trouble. People are trying to hurt her. She said, "Can I bring her down to you, and let's keep her safe to a court date?" Of course. She came down. We had fun. We had a blast, and it wasn't very long after that she left me a note and said, "I got to go back and see my kids." It's the last I ever heard from my sister.
Mhm.
But growing up, we had so much fun together. We tormented everybody.
How about you?
Well, I was only 3 years old when she went missing, so
So when you were growing up, did you hear stories from your family about your mom and her sister, your aunt?
no. I mean, I remember my mom on drugs. I remember when she went missing. Um, no, Sherri was in Florida, so I didn't know Sherri. I didn't I didn't even know my mom had a sister, really, aside from Joey and Angela and Will, but I was too young to really know what they were. Um, but I knew that she was in trouble, and I knew that she was doing things she shouldn't have been doing. I knew that my dad wasn't happy about it because they would fight and there would be, um but there was a point in time where she was a mom,
Mm.
and she was there, and I was on her hip all the time. Like, I have memories of her being in the kitchen. I'm sitting in our living room, and TLC Waterfalls is playing on the radio, and she's singing it.
I
Yeah.
remember that song.
Yep.
I love
And
that song.
I remember, like, these certain pants that she would have. They had remember the leggings that had the little strap-ons on the bottom
Oh, on
that
the
was her
bottom of
feet?
them, yeah.
And I hated them because they would make me wear them. I couldn't stand them because I don't like feeling that. But I remember looking at her wearing them and be like, "How can she stand that?"
Mm.
But I remember laying in bed with her. Like, I have all these little things. It's my brother who has absolutely no memory of her. Because after he was born, it seems like she really started to go downhill. That's when I started to notice she didn't really wanna take care of him. I had to step in, and I'm only 3, there's not much I can do.
He was like a year younger than you, right?
He's 2.5 years younger than me.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was born in April of '94, and I'm October of '91.
One. So he was a little guy.
He was a little baby thing. Big head. Big head.
The so for you, Sherri, like What was growing up like together?
Um, when we were like little, like really little, my mom and our dad, I remember one night them fighting, and I think my dad threw a bowl of cereal across the kitchen. And my mom packed me and Dawn in the car, and she said, "We're leaving." And I just screamed the entire time. I was like, "Take me back to my daddy. I want my daddy." Dawn and my mom were super, super close. They were like inseparable.
Mm.
Me and my dad, we were inseparable. I did everything with my dad. But as we got older, Dawn and I became kind of evil together. We started tormenting everybody. Like when my mom married her now husband, my stepdad, we tormented everybody. And we just laughed. It was fun. And I can remember one night. It's gonna make me cry. But I can remember one night. I was still living at home. And she called me just at a friend's house. And he gave her something. And she called me, told me she wasn't feeling right.
Mm.
And she's like, "I don't like this. Sherri, please come get me." And again, I don't know what he gave her. And she's like, "There's spiders crawling all over me."
Mm.
She's like, "Please come get me." And I went and rescued her. And it's like, it bonded us together. We were
Yeah.
closer after that.
Yeah.
I was the oldest out of 6 kids.
Okay. Where did Dawn fit in the order of kids?
She was me and her, and then my stepdad's kids, and they were younger than her. And then my mom and stepdad had 2 kids together.
Okay. Okay. So it was lots of kids at home, but you guys were the oldest and both shared the same mom and dad. And so the point that you're talking about where you picked her up and that made you guys closer, was that she was in her teenage years and you were...
No, God, she was like 11, 12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was not long after my dad was killed.
Yeah. What happened in that situation with your dad?
In my opinion, he was murdered by the police. They put a chokehold on, or they put a baton across his throat and broke his windpipe. And this is the story that the autopsy guy gave to my grandmother. And it affected Dawn.
Yeah, I had read that they had encountered him on the street. He was putting something in a van. I had read later that there was a warrant for his arrest, but for whatever reason, the police said that there was an altercation and that he had tried to hit them, and that somehow there were 2 officers and that they called 3 more, and ended up subduing him, and arresting him. And then a few minutes later, he had some kind of cardiac arrest. It must have been a very forceful arrest. What was the ultimate conclusion? Did the medical examiner
Yes,
come to a conclusion?
The medical examiner and even the guy that did my dad's body told my grandmother, and he told me when I got to the funeral home, that my dad's windpipe was crushed.
Oh, wow.
And Dawn overheard this.
Oh, wow.
And granted, me and my dad were closer, and Dawn was closer to my mom, but she overheard it. We did not take her to the viewing. I don't know if that was good or bad, but we did not take her.
You feel like you mentioned that it affected her. How did it affect her?
she'd lost her daddy. My dad was so loving. And then we had a stepdad. And of course, naturally, we didn't like him. We couldn't stand him. And he was there, and then we had to live with him.
He broke Mom's nose.
Yeah, he was, our stepdad was kind of abusive.
He slammed her face into a wall and broke her nose.
He beat the hell out of me when I was pregnant. So, yeah.
At
Wow.
least that's the story Dad told me of why Mom kind of started to lash out and started doing everything after, your dad died. And then everything with Grandma happened. Yeah, leaving her to the state and putting her in the group home.
You're right. He was abusive.
I hate to say that, but that is one of the reasons.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, you lose your dad absolutely unexpectedly in this violent situation. It's probably hard to even imagine, but then you lose your dad. And essentially, the primary man in your life now, your stepdad, is abusive. That as a 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old, whatever age you want to pick, would be
13,
so difficult.
14.
Yeah.
And I think it hurt Dawn more because she'd already lost her dad, and then her mom's got a stepdad in here that's abusing everybody. Dawn had a hard time. I had at that point got out. I had got out of the house, but I was still always there for Dawn and my stepsister, who was a little brat. No, she was. I had to rescue her too. But yeah.
You had mentioned something, I think, Sam, and something that happened to Grandma. What happened there?
Well, it didn't happen to Grandma. When my mom started acting out, my grandma didn't know what to do anymore. So she handed my mom over to the state, and she went into a group home, and she ran away from that. She was only 14. She met my dad a little bit around that time in a bar where she lied about her age.
How old was she at the time?
14.
She always did look older, though.
She looked way older. Oh
She
my
did.
gosh.
She always did.
Like, you see the pictures of her after she had me. She's 16, but she looks 27. It's crazy. And I understand entirely how he was fooled, because he said after he found out her real age, he was already in love. There was nothing he could do. Like, he wanted to protect her. He wanted to do everything he could for her.
And he did. Sam, your dad did everything.
He loved her so
He
much. That's
did.
why it hurts him talking about her. Like, it really bothers him, especially because I can't really ask him very many questions about her. He only knew her for 6 years. That's it. Like, and you really, realistically, you think about it, nobody really got to know her for that long.
Right.
Wasn't here that long.
Right.
So it's sad when you can only get so many stories from a very few collective of people.
My thing is, there's so many other people that know, like Rhonda.
Yeah, and
Who's Rhonda?
Rhonda Weston. It was her
She was Dawn's best friend.
best friend, and I mean, she's never told any stories. Doesn't really say much. She'll post pictures of her.
And every now and then you'll get a story out of her, but it's rare.
Do you think people just struggle talking about it because of what happens?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Now, Joey can get stuff from Rhonda, but none of the rest of us can.
Who's Joey?
My stepsister.
Yep.
Okay.
Her and my mom were a year apart. So they were closer in age. And Joey would actually stick up for my mom in a lot of instances. She was like her little bulldog.
What have you heard about what your mom's personality was like?
Not much. My dad never talked about her. And if we did, we didn't hear good things because he was very angry about everything that she did and how, he had seen this life with her. They had planned on having me. I was a planned pregnancy, which is insane at 15.
Yes, it was. I will
Yes.
agree to that.
Yeah, when he told me that, I was like, you should have kept that to yourself. You should have definitely kept that to yourself. Because what? Yeah, so I really only heard the bad stories. And from what I saw and, my own experiences, I have more bad memories than good memories of my mom. Um, but I mean, my grandma didn't really like talking about her either. It seemed like nobody really wanted to talk about her. Aside, it was just.
Well, I can tell you now, like, since, 2009, I have been sharing my sister's story every year.
Well, what was
Her
she like
missing
growing
date,
up?
her birth date, and so many of people that I went to school with, people that she has gone to school with, they post every time. They all remember her. They all love her. She had a lot of friends.
But what was her personality like? Was she funny?
Oh, she was funny. I told you, her and I, we did pranks on everybody all the time. And we just sit in the background and laugh. She was kind of quirky and kind of like, she seriously, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be blunt. She seriously acted 100% like a true blonde with her questions. I mean, how come my microwave exploded? Because I tried to dry my jean shorts in there.
Hey, she may have been blonde, but that sounds like something I would have tried to do as a kid.
Oh, well, she bleached her hair, actually. She bleached her hair all the time, and everybody kept telling her, stop doing that. Your hair's going to start falling out. And it did.
Yeah. She went from long hair to a pixie cut real quick.
Yeah, it did. But she was
platinum looked
funny.
so good on her.
Yeah, long hair on her it was not her style.
No, it wasn't. That short platinum hair looked.
Yes, that fit her to a T.
It was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that really surprised me in looking at the case and researching it, I was really surprised by how little coverage her case got.
Yeah.
Beyond sort of like the local newspapers and, but even it was short there. And I'm just curious about why you think it didn't get that much attention and what you know about the initial investigation after she went missing.
Because of drugs.
Because she was into drugs. She was hanging out with drug dealers. She was in it, whether she wanted to be or not.
Yeah, she wasn't worth looking for, essentially. She was just a drug addict that went missing from a motel. And the fact that the cops she had information on them too.
She did.
What do you mean by that?
She knew which cops were dirty and she gave names.
So this was, and is this because she was spending time within these drug groups? And I know at some point it looks like she had a bunch of interactions with cops. They may have even asked her at some point to be an informant, but because she was a part of these groups that were either running drugs or whatever it was they were doing, collectively, because it's usually more than that. But because of that, she also knew the cops that were dirty too. Is that the underlying idea?
Yes. And she also had a female cop that was picking her up. Because again, she was an informant. So she had a female cop that would come and pick her up and take her to go buy drugs because my mom didn't have a job or anything or money, and she'd give her money and all this in exchange for something else because this cop was trying to get ahead in the department.
My thing is, and I know, Sam, you're going to agree with me on this, is there was a leak, because how in the heck did anybody know that she was down here in Florida with me? My sister didn't have a phone. I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't even have a phone in the house. So how did anybody know that she was down here?
Well, she got some way because somebody bought her, Cecil bought her the ticket. I mean, Cecil, she talked to somebody.
There
Cecil
was-
is
Cecil Somerville is the brother of Mo Somerville, who my mom was dating at the time when the shooting happened in Mechanicsville.
and that's where Mo was shot
Shot at.
while he was with your sister.
Yeah, it was a warning to her.
And after that, they raided the house, and that's what led to my mom being an informant. My mom was renting a room from the house that they raided with Mo, and Mo's drugs and guns were in there, but Mo wasn't there. And they pinned it all on my mom, saying that she had to sign the papers. She did it to protect Mo and became a police informant after that. They went to go. Timothy Roland Farmer is apparently the one that shot at Mo and my
Yeah,
mother.
I never heard that part.
He parked over on Reeves Road and walked through the woods to shoot at them. And my mom informed them that Timmy was the one that shot at them, and they obtained a warrant to search his house, and they were looking for the guns, and they never found them. They obtained a warrant for drugs, but they were looking for the guns.
I'm pretty sure the guns are still in the woods.
They are. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, I know they are.
Yeah.
Well, but so it sounds like once she identifies him as the shooter, they then now know that one of two people, either her or Mo, has turned them in. Is that what you're saying?
That's what we were thinking. That is one of the lines we've gone down.
But of course,
there's
Mo's kept his mouth shut and Dawn disappeared.
Well, yeah, and Mo died, and now Cecil's still alive, but we know where he is. We believe we know where he is. He's in Florida. We found that.
And hey, Raul, remember y'all called that number?
You called it, and that I'm like 99.9% sure you spoke to Cecil that day.
You need to call again.
Yeah. So one of the things, just listening what you guys are saying, just to make sure I have this right, Dawn was basically hanging out with a group of people who were involved on some levels with the gun trade. I mean, the drug trade.
Yeah. Very high in it. They were huge.
And so at some point she starts to have, which kind of makes sense as a user, interactions with law enforcement. And you mentioned that one female cop. Was she trying to use her to do drug buys? Is that what you mean?
Yes. She was
okay.
Yes. But there was other also instances where my mom was taken places where cops were there making the drugs.
Okay. So, but at some point, like, there's, this incident where there's the shooting. And why is it you guys believe that was a warning about your mom?
I was told by a witness.
I don't know if that was a warning for her. So, because that happened in March. And I'm not exactly. They raided the house after that shooting. So I don't know why he was coming to shoot her. I mean, probably she was doing something she shouldn't have been.
I think it was not long after that though, Sam, that
Yeah, she went missing.
Mimi called me and she's like, "Look, Dawn just got shot at."
Yeah, that's why she sent her down there.
Right, but when Dawn got down here, she told me, she's like, "Look, they just shot my boyfriend like 4 or 5 times." And Mimi sent me down here because they already have a hit out on me. And I'm supposed to stay here until my court date. That's fine. That's perfect. Stay here. Mimi's going to come back and get you for your court date. We're all good.
She was only down there for like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. She
Yeah.
wasn't here long.
Because I remember when she showed back up, I was staying at Mimi's. Me and my brother were. And
because they lured her back.
well, I just remember Grandma saying, like, I don't know how she got back here.
Yeah.
Like, she's just back. And me and Justin were happy to see her because we hadn't seen her in a while.
Justin's your brother?
Yes. Yep. And she didn't look the same. Like, she didn't look how she usually looked. So
You actually got to see her?
Yeah. One of the picture that of us on the couch, me, my brother's sitting on her lap, and I'm holding the book, and she's sitting there with her head turned. That was when she came back. That was the last picture we ever took together.
See, my understanding was she disappeared from the hotel room.
Yeah, but we saw her before that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, she wasn't allowed to stay around. Like, but she was still in the area before that. We just hadn't seen her for a little bit. Because I remember when she came back from Florida, everybody was like, "It's crazy that she's back." But we
They were
just didn't
like,
see her the night we were supposed to meet up with her.
And I had to call my mom the next day and say, Dawn left. She's not here. Cecil bought her a freaking bus ticket.
how did you know that Cecil bought her a bus ticket and that she had left?
I actually didn't know that night that I got the note, or that morning actually. But I started digging and I was like, okay, nothing's right here. Mo's not going to set her up. And then I found out that they had the hit out on her. I was like, that's freaking Cecil. That son of a, he bought her the bus ticket. He bought the hotel room. And then she was gone.
But were you guys ever able to confirm that he bought the bus ticket and got the hotel room, or?
Yes.
The hotel room, yes. I'm not.
Yes. It's
But
all proven.
if he paid for the hotel room, I can see him paying for the bus ticket.
Okay. Yeah. And so essentially, like, if I have this right, Dawn goes down to Florida to stay with you, Sherri.
Yes.
And at some point, you find a note from her that basically essentially says, I want to see my kids. I miss my kids.
Yes.
She goes back to Maryland. And Samantha, you remember seeing your mom, but you said something earlier that just sort of stuck in my head. You said she seemed different.
Yeah. Well,
What did you mean by that?
I had seen my mom passed out from drug binges before, but she still looked like she was kind of put together. She didn't always, but this time she just looked defeated. Like, she looked nervous, kind of like she just didn't know what she was doing, which was kind of different. That's the best way I can describe it. Because normally, her hair was always done, but it was darker. Like, she hadn't been doing it. Her makeup wasn't done. She just looked very tired.
Yeah, because as a child, when you're that age, I think we forget how sensitive kids are to
Everything.
to the slightest changes in our moods. I was thinking as you were talking about that, if I am like slightly sad and I could hide it from every adult in the room, my little niece will instantly notice it and will instantly pick up on it.
It's crazy that and adults really forget that. They really do, just how intuitive children are. They really pay attention to a lot.
Yeah.
I know. The whole time she was here, she kept talking about her kids. And I was like, Dawn, look, you need to chill out. We need to get you to your court, and then we can go from there. And she was cool with it. just go with it for a while. And then I miss my kids. I miss the kids. I was like, okay, you'll see them soon. You'll see them soon. And then I get the news. Oh, well, I've got a bus ticket and I'm going to go home and see my kids. It's like, no, but it was already too late.
Mm.
It was a setup. He knew he wanted that 10 grand that was put out on Dawn's head.
I think it was a mixture of both, though. I think she wanted to see us, and she also just wanted to get back
Sam, trust me.
to her other
I'm
life.
not going to lie to you. She wanted to see you kids so bad.
Oh, I know. I think she did too. But I think it was also like because she got here, she still couldn't be with us, and she was still going to do more drugs.
She was still under their influence.
Yeah. So I think yes, she did miss us, but there was also the pull of that addiction more.
Well, see, the thing is, down here, I didn't let her have drugs.
Yeah.
And then we had just moved into a new mobile home, and I found drugs in a room that she had gotten from my ex-husband's work. And I was like, no, we're not doing this. And I threw it all away. She got mad at me.
I think she was trying to come back up here for drugs more than trying to see us.
Yeah,
Probably, if I had to guess, like
I think it's kind of both.
Yeah, it's hard to probably separate what her motivation was, and it probably was an element of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She missed us, but she still had that, that addiction, the withdrawals, everything coming on her at the same time. She needed to fix one thing before she could get to the other.
Yep.
But she was doing good down here. She was actually eating. She was doing great. But see, my understanding is after I caught her with the drugs in my house, and I was pregnant with Randy, and I called her and I said, we can't do this. And she's like, well, I'm going back to Mike's. I'm like, whatever. And
Who's
then
Mike?
she said, I want to go. Oh, my other ex-husband. And she's like, I want to see my kids. And it's like, Don, just wait. Please. Me ain't coming back to get you for your court date. Just wait, please. And then she was gone.
Just like Justin is just like her, I swear.
That's your little brother? Similar?
He is exactly like her.
One of the things that I was just thinking about in general, with, I think, a lot of cold cases, well, and not just cold cases, when people go missing, there's this grief that happens for everyone. But it's almost like you don't know what you're grieving because you're not 100% sure, certainly in the beginning, that the person is dead, but you're not 100% sure of that they're alive. And I'm just curious what that process of grieving was like for both of you. Sam, what is that like for a little kid?
Whew. Uh-huh. So when I was younger, it was kind of like I have this story to tell that other kids can't tell. Like, my mom isn't around. My mom disappeared type thing.
Yeah.
And I knew everything. I knew why she did. I knew it was because of drugs. I knew she was addicted to drugs. I knew that she had been a stripper. And this was all at a young age. I knew about guys coming to our house with guns. I knew about all of that. And my friends would be like fascinated by this, but it didn't seem like a huge deal to me. And I grew up being scared of cops because of it. Like nightmares about them taking my dad away from me. Because after losing her, well, even when she was around, I still had this huge attachment to my dad because he was just the better parent.
Mm.
He was there for us. He did everything for us. And when he would see her passed out, he'd come home from lunch every day, and sometimes she'd be there, sometimes she'd be doing something she shouldn't be, and he would just take us to work with him. My brother's still in a car seat and we're on a job site. So, um, it it was confusing at first because you kind of thought she was coming back. Like you were saying, you don't really know if they're gone or not. And then once I hit like 13, I started getting kind of angry. Angry at what her, angry at whoever took her from us, just angry at the whole situation. And that just kept going until I was probably like 21. And at that point, I was able to put myself in her shoes, not necessarily doing the things that she was doing, but seeing that at 21, I had no freaking clue what I was doing it.
Right.
And you had 2 kids at 20. Like
Yeah.
I lived longer than she had, and that really messed with me.
And I imagine there's like something about getting to that age or around that time that helped you really sort of grow some empathy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, later on, I did. I spent quite a few more years, like, still questioning if I should be angry with her or not. And
Mm.
mainly because that's what I was fed when I was growing up, that she was this bad person, that she left us, that she chose drugs over us, when there was so much more to her story that I wished I was told.
Right.
Because there was more to it. She was more than just somebody who got addicted to drugs and all of the events that happened afterwards. And I didn't get to know any of that.
Right.
So,
One of the things, it's funny too, because I was just thinking about that. I've thought about that with my parents at different stages
mm,
of of growth where, when I was a teenager, I would get mad at them about certain things. And then I got into my, mid 30s, late 30s, early 40s, and I was like, I don't even know what to do. Right? Like,
yeah, and neither
I don't
did
even,
they.
yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy, right? When you really stop to think about yourself at their age, it's like, wow, we're all just a bunch of kids. We're
Yeah.
just figuring it out. This is all our first time doing this. So when, we hit 50, it's our parents' first time being 50 and everything. They're all learning just like we are. So you can't really hold too much against them.
Right. 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 You're so right there too. I'd love to hear from like, your perspective looking back after having gotten a little bit older and gotten a bit better understanding. Is there, and I know you had no control over it, but like, do you look back and think of it and wish that certain things could have been handled in a different way?
I, I do, but and I know my dad does too, because he sees a lot of what my mom did in my brother. And my brother has taken this a lot differently than I have. He's chosen a very different path in life, and he also has a lot of mental issues because of all of this. Um, but you can see that my dad won't give up on my brother no matter what he does, what he says. Um, like he's threatened to kill multiple family members multiple times, and my dad still hangs on because I think he gave. I don't. Well, when my mom was still here, he gave her the ultimatum of us over drugs, and
Mm.
like you can't be here and around them and still do this. And when he did that, 6 months later, she was gone forever. So he is very scared, I think, of that same thing happening to my brother. If he's to give
Mm.
up on him, Justin will be gone afterwards. So it affected him, and in that, I also have to deal with that. because it's hard to watch your own dad struggle for his whole life just trying to make up for something he can't control.
Right. Right. And that it's affected him in the way that he's responding to it because
And
he's gone through that experience. So in a way, he's had a very similar experience to you in the sense that that he too has gotten older and looks at the situation probably quite differently, at least when it comes to your brother.
I hope so. It's not very easy to get him to open up about it, and I understand entirely. We're not a very open feeling family. Kind of just,
There's a reason for that.
yeah. Yeah.
Why do you say that, Sherri? What's the reason for that?
I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings with this because I mean Dawn was absolutely in love with Denny, and Sam, you were her entire world. You were everything to her. And then she got into the drugs. But girl, let me tell you, she loved you with everything she had.
My dad says that too.
Oh, it's not a lie.
When my brother was born, and I think she had postpartum too that nobody really addressed.
I believe you. I believe you. She was going through so much at that point.
And I don't think she really had the mental health that she needed.
Yeah.
That I agree with as well.
And I think that's like, and especially during that time, I remember, so mid 90s. I don't even know if I mentioned this, I have family on the Northern Neck, but I went to high school in the mid 90s early 90s, mid 90s in Northern Virginia. And I can even remember sort of like getting to the end of high school or the beginning of college and it being the first time like front page stories in the newspaper about postpartum. And they were written as if like someone just figured it out.
Yeah.
That it existed. And so at the time where your mom was going through that, she probably had no earthly idea and no one knew how to help.
Yep.
Yeah. Right.
When Sam was born, that was the highlight of her. That was it. Not even marrying Denny. It was just when Sam was born.
But that was also stressful for them because I was born with beta strep and they had to fly me out to Baltimore immediately, and they stayed with the Ronald McDonald House thing.
Yes.
They stayed with that, and yeah, they had to fix me. I got a helicopter ride at 8 hours old.
And beta strep is that like highly I think isn't that the form of strep that's normally in all of our bodies and in our intestines, but that if it gets
you are correct. Dawn did have that.
Yeah, and if it does get out, and it gets out into other part of our bodies, it can be, particularly in kids,
fatal,
really risky. And my understanding though that like when you're pregnant, it actually heightens the amount of beta strep that you have. Yeah.
It does. And they're actually supposed to test you for it about a month before you give birth. And that way they can give you medication to, and take all the preventative measures of it passing to your child. But they didn't do that for her. So I was born with it. And luckily they caught it in time. Otherwise I would have ended up with bacterial meningitis and probably a little on the, little higher on the spectrum than I am now.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I remember she was freaking out.
Yeah. My dad, they handed me to my dad. He got to meet me. He's feeding me and he's all happy looking at me. And then they come back in like, Mr. Holt, we're going to need you to give her back to us. And he's like, what? Why?
What is going on?
Got her.
Yeah. That must have been scary for them. Sherri, I asked Samantha, about what it was like to deal with the grief process for you.
It's been really, really hard. I mean, when I was still down here, there wasn't much I could do, but it didn't stop me. I still tried everything, and then I moved back to Maryland. And I was like, no, I'm gonna do this. And I started everything. I started calling everybody. I pushed everybody. I got addresses, names, pictures. And fortunately, I had met a man that actually knew the people that were involved in Dawn's disappearance and also knew the people that what house she was at and who was involved. Unfortunately, he is now deceased. So that gave me more gumption. And I just kept posting and posting and posting. And I kept putting all this out. And I kept calling and calling. I was not giving up. And
What was it that moved you or inspired you that at that moment? Was it coming home, or was it you just built up the strength for it, or what was it that got you to re-explore the case so intensely?
more the fact that I'd been ignored.
Hmm.
I'd been ignored for so long.
I think it's also that you came home.
Yeah. And then when I got back to Maryland, because down here in Florida, it's kind of hard for me to do anything. And then I went back to Maryland. I got with my mom and I located. Actually, this was an accident. I was at the courthouse one day and I heard this guy talking. I heard his name and I remembered him from like the first newspaper article that he had wrote about Dawn. And I was like, I knew you. And we talked. And then he met with me and my mom. And he wrote another article that I was there when he wasn't supposed to mention my name, but he did. At that point, I didn't even care. And it just kind of got me to want to dig deeper. And I kept going. And then my sister, that's now deceased, was dating a guy that I don't know how. Somehow we got talking about it. And he's like, oh, I know him. I know him. I know him. I know what happened to your sister. I'm like, oh, okay. Now it's on. And it just exploded from there.
I think we're going to stop there for today's episode and come back in a few days. If you'd like to join us in the meantime, for more discussions with me and other listeners, we can be found on most social media platforms, including a listener-run Facebook group called the Silver Linings Fireside Chat. For deeper conversations with our guests and live conversations with other listeners, you can also join us on our Patreon at www.patreon.com/The Silver Linings Handbook. I'm Jason Blair, and this is the Silver Linings Handbook podcast. We'll see you all again in a few days.
Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.